Hello, you guys, and thank y'all for tuning in to Talk About It Thursday here on the Journey Podcast, where I am your host, Kier. It's always so good to see y'all. I'm so glad we decided to spend more time with each other. Y'all are my friends. Just to start off, I want to thank everybody um, that had something to say about Sunday's episode, communication. I had some really good conversations following up with that. And so, thank you guys. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for just thinking about it. Thank y'all for doing the little homework that I give. So grateful all the time for um, any interactions that I can have with anyone in the community. Um, and I actually made a new friend, so I was excited about that. Um, Guys, if you have a topic that you'd like to hear my opinion on, feel free to reach out via the hotline at 770-802-1200. That is to give a topic that you'd like for me to just give my opinion on. Again, guys, this is just my opinion. These are not like some set in stone facts. It's just how I feel about the different topics that we're talking about, and that's on Sundays and on Thursdays. For those that are new, the announcements are news that you can use. If this is your first time here, thank you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you again on Sunday. Sundays, the Journey podcast airs at 6 p.m. So tune in on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, and did I say everything? I think that's everything. Um, if you'd like, you can also just go on the website, and I usually post the latest Sunday's episode up there. But it will also link you to the Journey Podcast channel on any platform that we are currently on. If we're not on a platform that you already are listening to a podcast on, just let me know. Reach out via the hotline 770-802-120. The website is thejourneypodcast.life. And yeah, that's about it. So let's go ahead and just dive into this week's episode of Talk About It Thursday. Again, we're just going to piggyback off of Sunday's episode. Communication is such a broad topic, and so it's so much to cover. And so I just feel like I'm just covering like just things that I think are like basic, good communication skills. So, again, guys, if you want to add in, give your input, just let me know. You can reach out to me on Instagram. If you go on the website, all the way up at the bottom, you'll see an Instagram logo that does link you to my Instagram. And just DM me. We can talk. I'm very nice and open. I like to communicate with others. Excuse me. And I like to hear other people's opinions versus mine. And it's not like I don't want to argue, but I love a good healthy debate, and I love a good opportunity to just look at things differently through somebody else's lens. And maybe it's something that I can implement myself in my regular day to day or in my communication or whatever the topic is. But yeah, let me know. Um Anyway, communication. We talked Sunday. Just a little recap for those that are just tuning in. If you haven't already listened to Sunday's episode, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do that before you listen to this episode. That way, everything just ties in together and it just makes sense. So, first things first, we talked Sunday, just a little recap about initiating communication. So, how communication goes two ways, it's sending and receiving messages to end up getting um, a similar, if not the same, understanding. And so, we talked about the person that initiated the conversation from that point of view. And so, now we're on to the person that is on the receiving end receiving the communication. So basically, this person here is the listener. Okay. Here you are, you're the listener. I came to you and I said, hey, this is how I feel, or this is what I expect, or this is what I want from you, or this is what I need from you, etc., etc. A good listener, a good communicator listens, okay? So when I say listens, I mean thoroughly listens, and not listens just to respond, not listens to cut. Listening also, let's rewind. Listening, you can't listen thoroughly if you cut people off while they're talking. One, that is extremely rude. And two, you cannot receive the entire message if mid sentence, in the middle of me saying something that it sounds like you might not like, you cut me off to respond. That is just like, let me tell y'all the type of person I am. I'm the type of person, if we're having a conversation and I'm just like letting you know how I feel, I'm letting you know what I'm thinking or whatever the case may be, and you cut me off, I will walk off mid. When you cut me off while I'm talking, I'm like, yeah, yeah, and you're like, no, 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 no. Yeah, we're gonna discontinue this conversation, and I'm not even gonna say anything. Like, if we're on the phone, I'm gonna hang up. Why are you cutting me off? If I can't talk, then we cannot communicate. If only you can talk, then we cannot communicate. That's not communication. Cutting people off mid sentence to say what you want to say. First things first, if you wanted to say something, you should have started this conversation. Don't wait until I say something. And that also brings me to saying, somebody coming to you to communicate their feelings or their thoughts is not an opportunity for you to counter what they're saying with your feelings and your thoughts. Because if it was that big of a deal to you, why you didn't come and say something? You know, this is not an opportunity for you to just be like, oh, well, you no. We're talking about how you made me feel, or we're talking about what I feel or what I think, or and we'll get to what you think and what you feel. But don't counter my feelings and my thoughts, and your response is your feelings and your thoughts. You should have initiated this conversation. Now you have to listen, and you have to receive what I'm saying, and you have to either offer me reassurance, um, make me understand your approach, or make me understand why, your why, but don't be like, well, you made me feel like, what? No, 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 no. Save that. You should have. You should have started talking about that on your own time. Don't use the time that I have put together to talk to you, and for your time to address issues with me. Like, don't do that. That's just not nice. Don't do that. Like, why are you doing that? And so, a good listener, the person receiving the message, is always it's always good for you to, like I said, thoroughly listen to what it is that the person with the message is saying, um versus looking for an opportunity to counter it. That's when you start cutting people off. Oh no, like, no, no. I'm gonna cut you off, and I got to say this. You listen to what I got to say. Well, that's not fair, and that's not nice, And so, we listen to understand. We listen to look for an opportunity to grow. We listen to, and when I say an opportunity to grow, maybe something that I'm saying you didn't even realize was something that, like that was wrong, or that was like, uh, or just like it wasn't good practices or good behavior or whatever for you to say or do or whatever. So maybe you can receive that as an opportunity to grow. Like, wow, dang, I didn't know that I didn't know that that was bad. And so, a good listener, a good receiver of communication, a good communicator, like I said, listens, but they also um, respond in a healthy way. Um, I don't know who came up with the fact with the saying that like arguing is bad for a relationship, and that's like for friendships and so forth and so on. Because like I said last week, arguing is just a result of like a buildup, a buildup of um that passion, and like, okay, you know what, I repeatedly allowed, whatever the case may be, whatever it is, I repeatedly allowed such and such, and now I'm angry. And just because you're angry does not mean that you're passionate about, I wouldn't even say angry, just because you're showing passion and your voice is raised, that doesn't mean that the conversation is unhealthy. Because at the end of the day, the communication is still happening, regardless of the volume, which, most of us would prefer uh, people to maintain low tones when they're talking to us. But at the end of the day, someone yelling doesn't mean um, that they're angry at you. Sometimes it just means that they're fed up with a situation. Because I've had somebody that was fed up with a situation that had absolutely nothing to do with me come to me and they're yelling about the situation. I don't look at it as they're yelling at me. Like, let's say for instance, um, like kids, okay? Say, your kids get into an argument or whatever, and one kid is fed up and they come and they're like, I'm not looking at it as you're yelling at me. I'm looking at it as you're fed up with that situation. You're fed up with what just happened, or you're emotionally aroused by what just happened. And although it has nothing to do with me, you are communicating with me, maybe for me to help you to calm down, or maybe because you want me to understand how you feel, how passionate you are about the conversation that's being had. Um, or, like, okay, like, just to just put that out there, like, this is a buildup of whatever the case may be, and it doesn't even have to be um from a kid. It can be from anybody. Somebody just was in a conversation that might have been a little heated, and here they are talking, communicating with someone else, and they're yelling. That doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that their tone their tone is towards you. Their tone is just sometimes an expression. So yelling is not always unhealthy. Sometimes it's the best way that people know how to get off um that um those emotions at the time. And so I don't look at it as like, oh yeah, even if the person that's talking to you, so you're yelling, I think it's hard for somebody to yell at somebody that's talking. I try my best in a heated conversation to try to just maintain the same tone throughout. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm no perfect person at all. I do raise my voice. I don't like to, however. I don't like to raise my voice. So I try to just um if you know me, I talk like this all the time. Like I'm the same, like the consistency of my tone is just always the same. It's never like, not unless I get a little excited. Sometimes I'm excited, I'm like, hold on now. And I'm just a little, but for the most part, if you're talking to me, this is my tone all the time. Even if we're not agreeing, I'm just like, okay, you know what? You're just and sometimes if I feel like you're trying to over talk me, I will raise my voice. But for the most part, I try to maintain the same tone. So like you're yelling, okay, you're yelling and I am talking. So I do get over talked a lot. Cuz I do talk like, I don't know. I guess people say I talk really low, but I'm just like, okay, will you want me to yell at you? When I'm communicating, I like to give people the vibe that, I'm good. We're good. Yeah, like, regardless of what's going on, I'm fine. Like, I'm not, um, I try to not let, I can't control somebody's feelings. And so I try to not let somebody's feelings get me worked up to the point where I can be upset or I can just feel some type of way or whatever the case may be. I'm just like, okay, you know what? Okay, I get it. You're upset. And I try to understand as the person receiving the information, I try to understand why you're upset. And that's why it's important to listen because in that time that the person is communicating with you, they're going to let you know why they are so emotionally aroused, whether they've dealt with this topic multiple times and it's just like, okay, enough is enough, or if there's just something that may have triggered a thought or feeling from a previous conversation or previous relationship or whatever the case may be. But a good listener or a good receiver takes their time and tries to understand. My Pastor Otis Gordon, always says, with all your gettings, with all your gettings, get an understanding. So in all that you get from somebody or something, try to make sure that you're understanding what it is that you're receiving. And so I think that always like that goes with me everywhere because it's important to understand you can um you can communicate all day and you can listen all day, but if you don't understand, you will just be carrying on all day. You will just be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so a good listener, if in the message that was received, if you don't understand from, you know, what the person that's giving the message, what they're saying, ask questions. Hey, you know what? I don't understand. Like, that doesn't, if it doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense to me. Can you help me to understand what you're saying? It's really that simple, guys. You don't have to, and that's how you guys end off on the same page. Them helping you to understand and you genuinely wanting to understand is important. And I feel like in any healthy relationship, you're gonna want to understand like why is this message a message that you're giving me, why? The why. I want to know the why so that it makes sense. So even if it didn't make sense to me at one point, or maybe it wasn't like my thought process, which we're all different. And so because we're all different, we don't all think the same. You know, it might have been the same situation. We might have experienced the same situation, but we might have taken it differently. I might have not known that I offended you. And so here you are expressing to me, hey, Kiara, you offended me or whatever. I want to know, like, I want to tell you one, well, that was not, I had no desire to offend you. And so here I am. I want to reassure you that that was not my goal. I didn't want to do that. And so that in my response, beginning um, with that being my response, it helps to reassure you that okay, you can let your guard down because I'm not an enemy, you know. Although here you are, you might thought that you came out swinging and I'm gonna be like, we're gonna be fighting. No, if I value my relationship with you, I'm I'm going to reassure you that that was not my intentions to offend you, hurt you, or whatever it was that happened. I'm going to start off by saying that. Also, a the person receiving the message, there's different ways to respond. So, um, just because one of my biggest things responding like maybe you were uncomfortable in whatever the case may be, and maybe you did what you did out of of you being uncomfortable. And so there are so many different ways to respond. And I think that sometimes, as the person that is receiving the message, it's like, okay, maybe you held off on telling me something. And so I might have triggered whatever you did that I'm talking to you about. I might have triggered that. And so, in that, we don't have to point fingers at each other. Oh, you did, you. You can say, hey, you know what? I did that because I feel like, and it's not making an excuse. I feel like, you trigger me to do things like that. I feel like every time XYZ, ABC, you know? And so it's helping us to understand each other. Now, okay, you just pointed out something that I did that triggered you. And this is just a healthy conversation. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be an argument, but if it is an argument, let's say things that we mean, one. Let's not say things that we don't mean. Let's not say things that we're going to regret. Let's say things that need to be said. Let's have an uncomfortable conversation. And so, for us to effectively do that, we both have to listen. A good communicator listens. A good communicator does what it takes to understand. And so, listening and understanding are so important in communication. Like, it is. It's just important. You have to listen to me so that you can understand me. And listen with the intentions to understand, not to respond and attack, you know? Um, that is where conversations begin to become unhealthy. Where here you are, um, you're attacking me, you know, because I said what I said. And my feelings are not up for debate. If somebody says, hey, you made me feel like XYZ, you cannot tell them that they should not feel like that. You can tell them that you didn't mean to make them feel like that, but you cannot argue with somebody about their feelings. Like, that is insane to me. Somebody that tells somebody, well, you don't need to feel like, you don't need to tell me how I need to feel. I'm telling you how I feel. And yeah, at this point, what are we talking about? Like, what? My feelings are not up for debate, you know? They can be up for reassurance, and so that I can not feel like that. And so here you are, um, instead of, reassuring me that you didn't mean to make me feel that way, you should respond. I'm not, and you can't tell somebody how to respond, but a healthy way to respond. Let's say that, because I can't tell somebody how they should respond, but a healthy way to respond is starting with saying, "Hey, you know what? I didn't mean to make you feel like that. I apologize." That way, you know, here we go. Now you're leaving room for me to be like, okay, maybe now if this is something that somebody does all the time and they know that it offends you and they apologize. Every time somebody says that they apologize, you do not have to respond. Matter of fact, you do not have to respond. Do not respond with, it's okay. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. And so I appreciate your apology. Let's normalize that being the response. I think a lot of the time when somebody apologizes, we instantly say, "Well, you know what? It's okay." No, it's not okay. If it was okay, then I wouldn't have came to you and told you that you made me feel like XYZ. So I don't want to even get it in your head that what you did is okay. So no, it's not okay. Okay. You made me understand. Okay, I understand where you're coming from. I just don't like that. That's it. Also, and maybe we're texting, and here we go. I might have initiated a conversation, and you responded, and I responded, LOL. And no, take the LOL out. We're standing on business. There's nothing funny about this conversation that we're having. LOL is like a LOL is like to try to soften the energy. No, nothing's funny. So no, we're not LOLing. I want you to know how serious I am about this conversation, and me laughing is not going to um get that message across. so so take that LOL out. Here you are, you're listening to me, and you're responding. Maybe what you're listening to what I said, maybe what I said made you uncomfortable. Do not put LOL if you're uncomfortable. Say, hey, you know what? Well, I understand that you feel like XYZ, but you kind of make me feel uncomfortable because blah blah blah. Y'all get what I'm saying? I just feel like a lot of the times when someone initiates a conversation, I feel like a lot of the time, um, the person on the other end of the conversation, either has a hard time receiving, or they're so stuck and set in their ways that um, they don't know how to effectively listen or effectively respond. I don't know. Is that safe to say? Anyways, guys, communication is such a broad topic. Like, it's so much to cover in it that is like impossible to cover everything. And um, I feel like the homework this week, for Thursday should definitely be just like, um, are you a good listener? Do you try to listen to understand, or do you find yourself being one of those people that cut people off mid conversation to try to get your point across or argue your point, um, versus um, allowing that person to complete what they're saying, and so that you get a good understanding. Um, do you try to get a good understanding, or do you, the minute they say something that rubs you a little bit the wrong way, you just kind of fly off the handle, you just go off? So let me know. Yeah. I guess I will see you guys on Sunday. I love you guys so much. Um, yeah. This has been a good week. I hope you guys are enjoying your week, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week. I love you so much. Have the best day. Tune in to Sunday's episode, so that we can see each other again on Sunday. Love y'all. Bye.